Hi. My camera is currently propped up on my hall tree and 2 moving boxes, so that's fun. This is not coffee, this is actually a white monster in a mug for the aesthetic. Let's get comfortable. Okay. Ready? Let's do this. Hi there, my name is Maria and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. I've been reading consistently for a little over 2 years now, and I bother everybody in my life with my thoughts on every single book that I read. I also have a lot of monologues in the shower where I tell an audience of viewers what my thoughts on a book are. And I thought that I should probably channel that energy into something a little bit more productive. So here we are. I've never made content like this before. I've posted on social media for a long time. I do social media for work, but I've never created long form content. So I wanted my first video to be kind of easy, just get to know me style. You can get to know me and what this channel is gonna be about and see if you want to stick around. And I'd like to get to know you too. So if you want at any point in this video, if you feel compelled, leave a comment. Let me know what your favorite book is, or maybe what book you're reading right now, or just say hi. Let's get to know each other a little better. I found a few questions on the newbie booktuber tag, which I kind of just found on YouTube, and pulled a few together to answer for you all today. So here we go. First question, why did you start this channel? I've been already thinking about the thumbnail and title of this video because I've been thinking about this a lot. So I know that I'll mention something about a no-buy year for 2025 there. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I ultimately wanted to start a channel now, because I think it's a great way to keep me accountable to a no-buy year in 2025. I tried doing one in 2024 and I was not fully successful, but I definitely bought a lot less books than what I had bought in 2023. As you can see, I have I don't know if you can see this bookshelf, but I'll insert a picture of it here. I have a decent amount of books, and it isn't even all of them. I have a few boxes in what's going to be my office soon. So I have a decent amount of books, a lot of books that I can read from, and I have a library card so I can pull from my local library. I also have a Kindle so I can read on a Kindle. So I was like, this is probably the perfect time to do that. I have all the resources for a no-buy year when it comes to books, to put myself on a book buying ban, and I would love it if you can keep me accountable. I also really love creating. As I said, I've been reading for over 2 years. That's a lot of consuming. I've been consuming a lot of book content. I've been reading and consuming a lot of books, and I've been trying to think of ways to give back, to create, to put my own voice and spin on the space. I've dabbled a little bit in like writing on my own just to kind of move that energy from intaking a lot of inspiration into writing. Nothing has been good. None of my writing has been good, but I have thought about creating content around books for a while. The idea of creating content around books, talking to people about books that I love, creating a community around it, that's something that really excites me. I want to challenge myself creatively in a different way. I also want to build my own kind of space online. I moved recently. I moved away from what I would say is my hometown. I moved a lot as a kid, but I settled down in one city for about 17 years. So all of my middle school, high school, and college friends and adulthood friends all kind of live in that city, and I recently made a big move. So I'm in a new town. I don't know anybody, and I thought, isn't it cool that people who have online communities get to keep that space wherever they go? Next question is, what are some unique things you can bring to booktube? A lot of the booktubers that I watch, they do this full time. And so they're reading a lot and consuming a lot of books, which is really awesome for the person who can't read all of the time, because then I get their opinions, especially if you can find a few creators who have similar tastes to you. Then that's kind of like a little guinea pig doing the work for you, reading the books that you would want to read, or reading books that you wouldn't think to read because you don't really have the time to pick up all these different books and read like 10, 12 of them a month. This is still very much a hobby. Reading is a hobby, content creation is a hobby. I still have a 9 to 5 that I go to Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Sometimes on the weekends I have events. In the past, when I've really locked in, I think I got up to 10 books in 1 month, which was really crazy for me. And they were kind of short and fast reads. But on a regular month, I read anywhere from like 3 to 6, depending on the length of the book and depending on how much time I have. So I want to bring that slower pace to booktube, that perspective on the person that just has a couple hours a month to read and what that looks like. Yeah, hopefully we can relate to each other a lot. How did you pick the name of your channel? I didn't want to use my name, mostly because who am I, really? Also, my last name is pretty distinctive, and although anybody in my life can come up to me and be like, do you read books? I'll give them a dissertation about how reading books is fabulous, like an amazing use of your time. Everybody should read a book. Everybody should have a favorite book. And you know, if people in my normal life find this channel, that's okay too. Like, I'm not ashamed of it, but I don't want that to be something that I'm concerned about when creating. I really want to just be myself, like fully myself. There's definitely someone editing up here whenever I'm thinking of like, oh, someone could see this. This person could see this. I kind of just want to be myself. I want us to be close. I want us to be besties. So I think the best way to do that is if I'm just fully honest with no concern about who is going to find this page. And why did I pick this name in particular, Biblicore and Mint? I found the word Biblicore on the internet, as one does, a few years ago, and I'm pretty sure it's a made-up word. But Biblicore is just a word for the comforting smell of old books. And I think most readers can relate to the fact that walking into a bookstore, and like a used bookstore specifically, there's like a smell in the air that comes from aged paper. And it's so distinct, it's so comforting. When I walk into a bookstore, a used bookstore, and I smell it, I'm like, oh, this place is real. This place is where I'm meant to be. So yeah, Biblicore, first word, and Mint. I was just thinking about other words that could go along with Biblicore. I thought I had a really long list, and it really came down to finding something that I liked how it sounded, and also had handles available on YouTube and other social platforms. And I love the smell of mint. Mint, coffee, and pepper. Top 3 smells for me. What are your top 3 smells? Does anybody care about smells? Let me know. What challenges will you face? Balancing a 9 to 5, definitely. That does take up a decent amount of my week. And now I'm adding a new amount of time to this hobby of reading, right? So reading in and of itself takes a decent amount of time. I'm not a super fast reader. I would say like an average reader. I think I'm like a page a minute girl, sometimes a minute and a half. If it's a really thick book, sometimes a little longer. But I'll finish a book in an average amount of time, I think. Adding the layer of content creation to this is definitely going to take some extra time. I also think that there's an art to giving a book review that I haven't quite mastered. When I'm talking to my friends about books that I've read, we already have a language amongst each other, so I kind of just word vomit, and if it lands, it lands. But now that I'm gonna do it on the internet, my thoughts are gonna have to be a tad bit more concise, a tad bit more informed. And so that's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but something that I'm excited for. I'm excited to be able to communicate more effectively about the way that I feel about books and why I love a book. I already have ideas for how I can structure that for myself. So I'm excited for that challenge and excited to start those conversations. What was the book or series that got you into reading? Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. I was over at a family friend's house, and at one point we ended up talking with this family friend's daughter. I don't remember who they are, and I don't remember who she was. She was a teenager, and I was in the 5th grade. I had to have been in the 5th grade because I remember reading all the Harry Potter books by the time I was in 7th grade. So I was probably in the 5th grade, maybe going into 6th grade, and she was a high schooler, I'm pretty sure. I think she was going to college, and we were talking about books, and she gifted me the first Harry Potter book, and I was like, here, this is my favorite series. Consider reading it. This is what got me into loving books. And she was right. It's one of the first series that I ever finished, or one of the first series that I ever remember finishing. And it's definitely defined my taste. It's a story that I hold dear to my heart, as a lot of people do. I'm Hufflepuff, for anybody who's interested. Let me know what you are. The next question is top 5 favorite books. And this is one that I added myself because this is my channel and I can do whatever I want. Top 5 favorite books. I'm not going to go too much into them. If you want me to talk about them a little bit more in depth, I could. This could be, a video idea for the future. But I'll give you my top 5 favorite books just so you kind of get a little bit of my taste. Number 1, actually not number 1, in no particular order, Perfume by Patrick Susskind. The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. The last one is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. That was my first V.E. Schwab book, and really the first book that lit a fire under me to start reading as an adult. I would say that A Court of Thorns and Roses was the first series that got me back into reading, as a lot of people. That series got a lot of people back into reading as adults. But The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is what sustained me. Once I read that book, I was like, wow, the world is at my fingertips. I can read so much. I can experience so many stories. What books do you like to read? We're back to the regular list of questions. I'm making this one up. I do trend towards fantasy, sci-fi, and I use romance, contemporary romance as a palate cleanser. Those are just comfort reads for me. I've been reading romance for such a long time. I am a fan fiction girl. I've read a lot of fan fiction in high school and might have written some fan fiction. I can't believe I'm admitting that on the internet. I don't know if that's gonna stay on this page. Up until now, maybe only 3 people in my life know that I've ever written fan fiction, and none of them know anything about it. Like, nobody knows what exactly I wrote fan fiction of, but I did write fan fiction. We'll see if this clip stays on here, but I want you to know me again. I want you to know me. I haven't read fan fiction in many years, but I have a lot of respect for that community and a lot of respect for those writers. Some people in the fan fiction community are writers, like truly writers. And I'm happy that a lot of fan fiction writers have gotten their chance in the real publishing industry. When I read things from like Ali Hazelwood, Olivia Blake, I remember the first book that I picked up from both of those authors and being like, these people have written fan fiction. These people have written fan fiction, because there's a certain like je ne sais quoi in that writing style that really hits for me. It's really a comfort read. So again, I use romances as palate cleansers. I do love when there's a romance in my fantasy or in my sci-fi books. I think that those dynamics are really interesting to explore, but I do love the more plot heavy and intense world building that happens in sci-fi and in fantasy. I love the escapism of it. But I also like literary fiction. I love things that challenge me, so I've been picking up a lot more on literary fiction and classic books, because I just want to experience it, right? I want to feel like this well-rounded reader. I dabble in a little bit of everything. I try and read some nonfiction, at least 1 or 2 a year, just to, again, challenge me. I think this is our last question. What are you currently reading? And I'm looking down here because I have my notes here. I had to, have the questions in front of me, but the bullet point under that question is insert book here in italics. And I was hoping that I would have a book right now, but I actually don't. I recently finished Heartless Hunter, which was great. If I get to do a January wrap up, I'll give my thoughts in depth on that one, but I don't currently have a book. I actually need to pick one. Let me see what I have in my shelf. I think I want to pick this one. Okay. Let me walk over to you. Okay. I think I'm gonna do I think I'm gonna do Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This was on my list of books to get to last year, and I didn't because I don't know. Now that we're in this year, now that it's 2025, it feels like incomplete to me. It feels like it was on a list and I wanted to get to it and I didn't get to it, so it feels incomplete. This feels like a good pickup and I've heard really good things about it, so this will be my next read. Let me know if you've read it. Let me know if you haven't read it. I'll include it in that aforementioned January wrap-up if that happens. And that's it. We've reached the end of my very first YouTube video. If you've made it this far, you might as well go follow me or add me as a friend on Fable and Goodreads. I've only recently moved over to Fable, and Fable is a little bit more community building. So if you're on there, let's be friends. If not, let's chat in the comments, but I'll leave all my links in the description. I feel like so official saying that, links in the description. But yeah, that's it for this video. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.